Hello, thanks for joining us on this month's webinar about jumpstarting your travel SEO. I'm Joseph Franklin McElroy, and I'm a marketing technology expert who has built a multi-million-dollar business, and I'm also an award-winning content producer, artist, and technologist. My company is Galileo Tech Media, a leader in providing wise content and smart SEO for destinations and multi-locations. Since 2014, we have provided a suite of global clients with marketing services that help them get maximum visibility in organic search, social media presence, and effectiveness in marketing conversions. You can read more about us at galileotechmedia.com and sign up for our newsletter as well. Besides marketing, I'm also a travel entrepreneur. Let me show you. I guess I should start the slide, so let's just do that. There we go. So, as you can see, that my contact information is there if you'd like to reach me. And travel business is what I do. You can see I got a lot of logos right there. I am also a travel entrepreneur. I own a mountain resort called the Meadowlark Motel, and you can see it at meadowlarkmotel.com. It is in the Smoky Mountains near the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. I also partner with my wife on a travel agency called Blue Orange Travel. And I have a publishing site called smokiesadventure.com, which is for destination marketing and promoting the area, as well as selling advertising to other potential advertisers in the area. Besides this webinar, I also broadcast 2 weekly podcasts. On Tuesdays, I put on my mountain man hat and can interview guests on Gateway to the Smokies. And on Fridays, I'm all business with interviews of leading entrepreneurs on a podcast called Wise Content Creates Wealth. Both of those are available on talkradio.nyc, which broadcasts them live. It's also on Facebook at Gateway to the Smokies podcast page and Wise Content Creates Wealth page. I also have sites for those, gateways to the Smokies.fun and wisecontentcreateswealth.com. So you can read more about us at galileotechmedia.com and go and sign up for a newsletter that will inform you of more webinars and upcoming episodes of the podcast. So our agenda today is to focus on how to jumpstart travel business with SEO after this year of COVID. Now, I will be talking about first, I'll talk about trends, where you should spend your efforts. And a lot of this will be dealing with keywords. Then about audit is, it's been a year. You might not have been particularly active in your marketing with SEO. A lot of businesses, and especially big businesses, really dialed back. So it's time to take a look at your tech to make sure everything is up to date and nothing has changed underneath you. I want you to think global. You need to act local when you're dealing with travel marketing. And we'll be talking about Google My Business and some other tactics in that arena. We need to audit our content because content gets old, content gets unused, and all that can drag your SEO down. We need to stimulate demand because traffic counts. Traffic counts in SEO, and even traffic from other sources counts to help make your SEO better. And then I'm going to talk about how we use different kinds of academic research into memorable tourism experiences to build anticipation for traveling to whatever you're trying to get people to travel to. So, trends. I'm a partner with Brightleaf, which is an enterprise SEO platform. And they recently had gave me a presentation on trends in the industry that they actually got from the U.S. Travel Association and Tourism Economics. And it looks like that leisure is going to recover this year. by the end of this year, beginning of next year, it's going to be nearly at 90% of what was the levels in 2019. But it doesn't, but business travel looks like it's not going to recover until 2024. So where you want to put your efforts is probably into leisure and not so much into business. I was reading somewhere that the leisure is going to take a big hit, and our Blue Orange Travel Agency was, leader in leisure. And I can tell you, it just totally disappeared off the planet. And it looks like it's not coming back for a while because people with the drastically reduced budgets in business travel, less people are traveling, and there's less opportunity for people to extend their vacations with their own personal experiences. So it just will be a non-existent category for a little while. When you look at using keywords to predict trends, there's really a four-step process that we developed with BrightEdge. One is you're going to build your macro keyword groups to help you listen to your market. So you're going to create categories of keywords to understand, in sort of a high volume sense, where search is going and where it's been and where it's going. You're going to try to identify which trends are here to stay, because search will change after this, and we're going to have to watch to see how it changes. I anticipate a lot more local travel. We anticipate things like new concepts like a vaxcation, where people are going to be really have a lot of pent-up demand and just want to go somewhere because the vaccine is over. They've gotten their vaccine. And it's even becoming a term of trade, and it might become a search. It might become something of a search, volume. Who knows? We're going to keep watching those things. You can position search, as the fastest way to see what your audience wants now. Using keyword volume and watching where it grows will tell you, what people are looking for. It's a really great way to understand demand. And then you can use search to inform your product, your media, and media buys and your positioning strategy as the economy reopens. So search can become an incredible part of this recovery for all your advertising programs. I ran a little report real quick on BrightEdge for some of my macro groups for my travel agency. And it had a good story to tell in terms of, not a good story, but a story to tell in terms of what we found from the macro research done about business travel. As you can see, the travel agency keywords from 2021 are starting to recover. And they're pretty much double what they were last year at this time. All right, so there's been, last year at this time was probably the worst point of travel. It was in April. In May, the things really started going way downhill. And you can see it's come back. It's come roaring back. But you can see that business travel, corporate travel is dead in the water. It's less than it was at the same time last year. And it's not growing. It's even deteriorating a little bit right now. We've also seen influencers starting to look to travel again. We do some influencer travel stuff. And then there's surprisingly, people are looking for boutiques. And that's increasing. So, in areas of our business to go after, travel agencies seem to be doing well. New York travel agencies seem to be doing well. So we're going to be, focusing in on those. We're going to go away from business travel from now. There's just no point. There's a couple small sectors like production and entertainment travel. Production companies got to still go out there and make their movies and things like that. And so they're starting to wake up and jump back in the game. But other than that, we're not seeing a lot. You can also, another program you can use that's pretty easy for anybody to use is Google Trends. You can go in there and start putting in different sets of keywords and seeing how the trends. And if you put in business travel, corporate travel, you can see the big jump downwards. It's very erratic, but you can see a big jump downwards around April last year, March, April, and then it still mostly has maintained that, has not gone up. Well, things like travel agencies, you're starting to see the upward flow. So that can give you an idea of where the possibilities exist. So now, what are we going to do about auditing your technology? We're going to look at, we're going to look at where we are in the recovery process. So we're no longer in the crisis mode. The vaccine is starting to solve opening things up, and so we're now starting in the recovery mode. And we're going to want to put our efforts into our the key channels that will work right now, which are website, paid media, SEO, and email. We're going to want to generate interest, demand with unique offers. We're going to want maybe relaunch some of the old paid media. We're going to invest into a lot of SEO prioritizing schemes and voice and technical health of your site. We're going to optimize mobile with AMP pages and superior navigation, and we're going to amplify all this with email. So, I mean, that is your recovery plan in a nutshell. And with that, the first thing you need to do is put together a plan for your technology evaluation. You need to put an SEO roadmap in place, because running an audit is fairly easy. There's programs out there to do it. We use Bright Edge, but there's others. Ahrefs, SEMrush. They all have audit tools. Is a really good one for really huge sites. They'll do an audit fairly quickly with a lot of the things that you need to do. But then there's going to be, if there's a lot of things that have been affected and a lot of things that need to be changed, you're going to need to create your roadmap of when you're going to implement them. And this will encompass not only the technical SEO, but also the other things we're going to talk about, like content optimization. And it's also going to have things with UX and conversion rate optimizations, because pages that are not working, have to be modified as well. So the first step is planning, and it's very important to put that plan in place and do it in phases, month by month or week by week, ever how fast you want to do it. These are sort of all the aspects of, and this presentation will be available to you. These are all the aspects of auditing that you need to do, and especially in the technical SEO. But you should revisit everything, like your keyword research, your SEO basics, your on-page and content, and your off-page, your link building. And so these become, and there's some tools that are listed that you can use to go about doing that. But when you have technical problems on your website, there's a lot of times they're very much a common set of problems that people have, and it's it's not using the appropriate kind of links on your pages. Follow versus no follow. You have things like an infinite scroll that's not being indexed correctly by Google. You got these loaded images that take a long time to load, and that can slow your website down. And some of those might need to be optimized to be smaller. They might need to be set to load after the main site is lifted. These are technical solutions. There might be a lot of what's called traps on your pages that make it very poor for crawling. Sometimes there's like traps, like multiple redirects. You might have a lot of like category pages and things like that. There's a certain crawl budget that Google gives to each site, and if you waste those crawl budget on traps and certain things that just go on forever that are really meaningless, then you don't get your whole site indexed, and that's no good for you. Using really heavy images in the background that are loaded through CSS, inaccurate status codes, which is like this, you can have a 401 page, a 301 page, you can have a 404, you can have a 302 page, you can have a 200 page. You might have a page you think is great, but it's actually got something that's, the status code is incorrect. You have a robots.txt page, that the robots.txt file that's incorrect. It's wrong. It's way too heavy. It's, or it doesn't, it goes down. It's not there. You get duplicate content. Duplicate content can waste your crawl budget. It can, so you can get the wrong pages ranked. There's a number of things that you want to do with duplicate content. You got to really worry about page speed and not have huge JavaScripts and huge images being loaded in. You got to optimize and minimize all that sort of stuff. You might have JavaScript that's just not rendering the images and HTML that it's supposed to be rendering correctly. Your site might have been migrated recently, and this is one of the biggest traps people get into, is they migrate from one domain to another, but you didn't do all the necessary things to make sure the SEO value changed it. You didn't do 401 redirects for all the appropriate pages. You didn't do, matching the URLs as best you can. There's just a number of things. That's one of the biggest areas where technical problems occur. You might have unknowingly no indexed certain pages in the HTML tag or the header, or what happens quite often on WordPress is there's actually one switch in the settings under general settings, I think, or it might be reading settings, but that says don't let the search engine search this page, index this site. And some people leave that checked on, and then their whole site is down. And if you don't notice it for a month or two, you got a real problem. You might have incorrect canonical tags. You might have, the wrong language tags. You might have, there might be some new weird features in Google Search Console. And their structured data is actually not structured well and is not validating. That can inhibit your SEO. Your AMP pages are not validating, and your progressive web application is not validating. So these are the common things that will come up, and you have to fix those first. And I don't know whether it's just a rule of life or whatever. It seems that if you don't pay attention to things for a year, a lot of things go to heck and start having problems. And Google itself changes. So doing an audit right now is really important. You need to get up to speed on what's the current tech status of your site, and is it crawlable and friendly for the search engines to be indexing it. Something that's happening now is there's an update on Google that was supposed to happen May 1st, but now they've sort of staggered it. So it'll go, maybe start more in June and go through August, give you time to get it. But they introduced a concept called Core Web Vitals. And essentially, as I say, is your page speed, is your site fast enough for Google to think that it's good user engagement? Well, the users, enjoy this site, landing on it and seeing stuff quickly and being able to get stuff information. Because if the user engagement of where they send people to is not good, then they reflects badly upon them. So they're going to prioritize and make a big ranking factor out of these core web vitals. And basically, there are three areas. It's called largest contentful paint. That's essentially how fast does it load. First input delay, does the interactivity of the site start fast, and is the interactivity quick and efficient? And then the CLS, cumulative layout shift, is it visually stable? Is it not like all of a sudden pop-ups and adjustments and things like that makes it difficult to read and experience? And this is important to get right now because it's going to become an important ranking factor more and more. You can go into Search Console and there's a new tool in there to run and to see what your core web vitals are, and they will tell you what they think of your site, and then you need to figure out how to fix it. Another big thing for us in travel is Schema. All right, that has become more and more important. We've seen incredible jumps in the search engine positions by doing certain kinds of schema. And there's the basic schema you need to do about what type of place you are. Are you, for example, are you a lodging business and accommodation? You could be other kinds of places. There's restaurants. There's any number of the hospitality related aspects. And each of these can do things like have rooms, prices, charges. All this can be made into a schema. Now, not all of it is as important as others yet. But some of it, a lot of it creates what's called, it's not necessarily for getting you rankings, but it creates what they call decoration. They like to call the things like stars and prices and carousels and all that is the decoration of the search results. When your search result gets decorated, it has a higher conversion rate. People click on it more likely. So that's as important as getting a high relevancy score in Google. So you need to be working on your schema, both for getting better search results, but also for getting more decorations that increases your conversion rate, which in the end also increases your search engine optimized position. Other things in the travel space for schema are trips and tourist attractions and tourist destinations. You also have, we think, most people think it's only for B2B, but FAQ page, questions and answers, having questions and answers about your location, about your destination, about your attraction. So that when you search up the search and results result, they not only come up with your search result, but you'll have your questions and answers appear right below you. And you take a bigger chunk out of the territory available for the organic results, and you just got bigger space. It's very effective, and not a lot of people are doing it yet. And then same as is a type of schema where you can say, well, I'm mentioning here that I'm near the Mount Rushmore. And you can use a schema in there around that saying this is the same as the Wikipedia entry for Mount Rushmore. And what you're doing is stealing a little bit of the authority of Wikipedia by saying, well, this is about the same thing. Google is about creating entities now. And everything that's important, becomes an entity. A business is an entity. An attraction is an entity. A concept is an entity. If you look up, one client of ours is in the, selling caskets and coffins. Well, Google actually knows those are basically the same word, and they actually, I think, now I'm not doing the day-to-day, but one of the words, and I think it's coffin, is the one they consider the entity. So if you optimize everything for casket, it's not as effective as optimizing first for coffin, but you need to optimize for both. But they recognize one as the bigger authority and the bigger entity. So unfortunately, we don't have any live people here today. I think there was a technical hiccup, but I'm going to be doing this anyway and make this available. If anybody has questions, at the end and at the beginning of this is my email address. You can send them to me. You can also go to the webinar page here, and you can actually sign up for a live Zoom meeting with me for 15 minutes to get answers and questions and answers then. So think global, act local. Travel is a global industry. I mean, it's in hiatus right now, and it's slowly coming back, but it's a global industry. And so people think about how you get, clients from all around the world. But localized business is essential for the travel, because people, when they search, they often will search based upon location. All right. And so being heavily optimized for local is important. So in that regard, you need to get a well-optimized Google My Business page, and which provides the basic fact about your company and your contact information, hours, and it helps drive local traffic, and it also helps traffic global traffic that's looking for local results for where you're located. We basically, you need to claim and verify your listing for your business. If you have multiple locations, you want to create a GMB for each one of those locations, and optimize each one of those and manage each one of those as a separate entity that you're trying to get traffic for. You want to target the keywords. You can have keywords in titles and categories and descriptions and images. You want to have the right keywords all throughout that listings. And it's a little old fashioned that you can still do some keyword stuffing in that. I wouldn't overdo it because it detracts from the usability, but you can. You want to get more reviews. Reviews are important on the Google My Business. You want to ask people to review. You want to get reviews. And you need to respond to those reviews. So you need to be optimizing that. Reviews are important marketing technique just besides being good for search engine results. Whenever somebody gives a review, especially if they give a negative review, you need to respond. And when you respond to a review, you address whatever the question was. You can, if it was a good one, you say thank you. If it was a bad one, we say sorry, blah, blah, blah. But what you also do is you advertise in your review. Somebody says, the breakfast was good, but I'm sorry they didn't have the waffle maker there today. And you say, we really appreciate you enjoyed our breakfast, and yes, I'm sorry the waffle maker was had a problem that day, and so we couldn't there. But we hope you didn't miss the homemade scones that we had placed out, along with the specialty coffee that we also serve. Now you're not only showing that you're a real live person, you're addressing the concern of whoever was reviewing you, but you're also advertising and promoting the amenities of your place. It's an important place to do that because people do look at those reviews and they look at especially the negative reviews and they receive response, and you can trigger them to be interested in you by advertising, by talking about the amenities that you have. Maybe you don't have one amenity, but here's another amenity that I have. That's incredibly important. Oops, let's go back over here. Another thing you want to do is that, and not many people do it, is that there's the ability to create posts on your GMB page. Now, these posts go up, they're up for a while, and then they finally go away, but they generate traffic and they generate interest and they help your local SEO. You basically can search for your company, and if you are the owner, it'll actually come up with your knowledge graph, but also come up your business on Google entry, and you can go create a post, and you create posts. Just like blog posts. And you can do links back to other blog posts on your own site. One of the things that we have found effective is to do things like, instead of tweeting about a blog post on our site, sometimes we'll tweet about a post on our Google Our Post, which will send Twitter traffic to the Google My Post, where they're linked then from the Google My Business post to our blog post will also get traffic. And so that authoritative traffic from Twitter going to through Google sort of multiplies the strength of the signal that then goes to our blog, and it seems to help our blog rank very well. You also need to optimize the content on your own website to be very localized. You need to actually have a local hub. I call it two types. One local hub about your place, and the local things like the restaurants near it, the attractions near it. For different kinds of things like for the travel agency, we put all the embassies near it, and boom, that really helped our SEO and the local search results. We sort of dominate the New York travel agency, New York corporate travel agency space, because we created a localized hub about New York on our website. And, it's like 5-10 pages. They're all just about New York related stuff. Then having our New York address prominent on every page, especially of the localized hub. If you have multiple hubs, you would have 5-10 pages of each. If you have multiple local locations, you'd have 5-10 pages for each location, and each of those would have the addresses and phone number of the location. So that really becomes associated with your GMB listing for that location, as well as indicating that it's all about the region or the area that you're in. You want to have location specific images. You want to have in-depth copy about the locations. You also want to have call to actions based upon the location. You might want to have rooms images and videos, location data that you can accumulate. I think it was Zillow put up, all the local school districts and their ratings and stuff like that to get the localized results. So whatever data you can get that's relevant and to your location and your business is a good thing to add. And then you want to make sure the meta description for those pages, the title tags, the headlines, the schema markup are all location specific, and even the alt tags. So you want to optimize location hubs on your site. The days of just putting up a store finder and having a 5-sentence result saying, "Oh, this is the location, here's the address, and please call us," are over. If you're not doing multi-location SEO for all your locations and doing it in a professional manner, you're not going to get the search results you want, and you're going to lose position. Sur La Table went into bankruptcy during this COVID. About 1.5 2 years ago, I was looking at their SEO. And they had just a simple store finder, and their search results for locations were not particularly great. Because they had big authority, they got some, but they weren't ranking for a lot of things they should have been ranking for. Like they had cooking classes in all their stores, or most of them. But when you look for cooking classes and specific cooking classes and things like that, they were way down the page, and other local people were getting the really great results. It was a big opportunity that they were just missing, and their business suffered from it. So you need to audit your content. It's been over a year. Maybe you haven't written anything in a while. You need to look at what's performing and what's not. All right. So one of the first things you do is just go through and get an audit, a list of all your pages and how they've performed over the last year. And you can do that with things like Google Console, even Google Analytics. You also can get external tools to provide you with information like Ahrefs, SEMrush, or an enterprise thing like Bright Edge. And then you just basically go through them and start with and ask these questions. Well, did you get more than 100 organic visits in the last year? No or yes? Well, no. Then you go, does it have backlinks? If it's no, then you want to manually review the quality of the page. And then you either 404 it, that means just tell Google it doesn't exist anymore, or you 301 redirect it to another page that might be relevant. If it has backlinks, then you want to 301 redirect it to relevant content on your site. If it is got over 100 visits, does the bounce rate? What is the bounce rate? If it's greater than 80%, then you need to review it and figure out how to make it better so that the bounce rate goes down. Because no traffic and high bounce rates are bad engagement, and Google will penalize you. And you have to get rid of those pages one way or another, either by deleting, rerouting, or rewriting. All right. And then you look at the conversion rates. If you got pages that are not converting, that means that they're not producing business for you. So, while it might help your SEO, every page needs to be some way, to convert. Now, some of those conversions are not going to be buying. Some of the content is going to be top of the funnel, middle of the funnel. You're not going to try to get the people to buy. So your conversions will be, will they sign up for a newsletter, or will they download something? Can I get their email address in some way? So you need to, be measuring your conversions rates, because at the end of the day, conversions, is important for making effective campaigns. You need to review your navigational hub. You got several kinds of hubs. I already mentioned location hubs, but you have several kinds of hubs of information on your site. The main one is your navigational hub, and it's a hierarchical system where you're pointing down to money pages. You got your main category, you got subcategories, then you got subcategories, and then you finally got money pages where they can buy. Now, I put up an example quickly here of a food store, but it could easily be motel rooms or restaurants or whatever. And as you know, there's a whole downward linking, structure, and it counts. And you need to make sure your money pages have, are got good links to them, and are actually in the navigational structure in some way, because a lot of people will not link to money pages. So your linking is really from internal linkings. And one way to get the internal links is through the navigational structure. The other way is to have it come from content hubs on your site. Now, content hubs are topical oriented structures. They're not in your navigation necessarily. And you'll have a central topic page, which is generally pretty high in the funnel, subtopics, which are usually middle of the funnel. And then you'll have the end pages, which are just supporting documents. To support the building the authority of the subtopics and topics. And instead of pointing down to everything points either laterally or up. So the leaves point up to the subtopics, the subtopics point up to the hub. So all the authority goes up to the topic. And, this is a great way to do it for locations, a great way to do it for destinations, attractions, things like that, in a particular area. And or types of things like when we're talking when the Meadowlark Motel, we don't want to just show up for North Carolina. We don't want to just show up for Maggie Valley where we're located. We also want to show up for hiking in the mountains. People might not know that you can hike in the Smoky Mountains, or maybe that Smoky Mountains is a great place to hike. And if they're looking for somewhere to go, and more than likely people are going to be doing a lot of that now. As opposed to location and place and specific places, you're going to be really wanting to do some aspirational thing. I want to go hiking the mountains. I want a cabin in the woods. I want, to see the sea from a cliff, whatever. So you want to have positions there to make them aware that you exist and that it's a good place to go do those things. You can do that with content hubs. And when you're considering a content hub, it's not just what's on your site. You can also have external sites that point back to you to be considered part of your hub. You can have influencers and co-creators that are also part of a hub. So there's a whole planning that can be made around content hubs that make them really strong attractors for a particular topical area that's important for your business. Again, questions can be sent to me. So traffic counts. You want to stimulate demand. You want to get traffic coming to you so that your SEO even gets better. So all your traffic is not coming from search engine optimization. It's going to come from referral traffic, paid traffic, social traffic, email traffic, a number of things. And traffic counts for SEO. So to improve your SEO, just improve your overall traffic as well. Additionally, you got to get people moving. You got to get them off their hands, get their masks off, get them and start thinking that it's time to travel. So there's multiple things that you can do. One of the things we do to stimulate travel is we do a syndication network. So we send all our blog posts out using programs like Zapier or IFTTT, which will connect to other social media based platforms. Platforms that produce content like WordPress itself or Blogger or Twitter or Tumblr, and we will create branded properties on all these different ones, and then we'll have our content syndicated back out to those properties. Because they are well-known and authoritative sites, they get some decent rankings. You don't have to worry about duplicate content because you can do canonical links. And it doesn't matter really if your content is in some of these, your blog posts are in some of these other places and they get ranked higher. They're still talking about you, and the links can link back to you to drive people to come to your site. And it creates traffic because people find it, then they'll click on links to come to you, and the traffic counts. So syndication networks are great for SEO. You need to be doing offers and contents, et cetera, and putting them out through all sorts of media, social media, through, I think I have a thing here where I got listed a lot of places, directories, review locations, co-market with other people, Yelp, Instagram, you register with tourism boards, you can do affiliate marketing, you can do paid media, you can do Google hotel ads, you can do a lot of things, but you want to get people moving with offers. And, you do contests, you can do giveaways, you can do discounts, you can do prizes, whatever you can think of. We use a program very often called Wishpond, which can help put those together for you. It's a pretty good service, but there's many landing page software out there that can put together good landing pages for you, or you can just do them on your own site. WordPress has a number of plugins that create great landing pages, or you can just, you can send them to different blog posts and then just have pop-ups with opt-in master or something like that. Here's one of my favorite areas right now, and that's building anticipation. I started learning about a concept called memorable tourism experiences about 2 years ago. And I actually wrote a big blog post that's on mdsdecoded.com, which is Marriott's digital services blog, their sort of technical blog for the marketing people and all their franchises. And basically what excited me about memorable tourism experiences, and memorable tourism experiences are flashbulb memories people have from an experience they had while on a visit. And what research found is that if people have those kind of experiences, they have more brand loyalty and more revisit intention than just visitor satisfaction. It was a great indicator of a motivated customer to come back. Not only that, they found that anticipation created a more memorable experience if the anticipation was met. And that is where marketing fits in. You can build anticipation with marketing, and you can trigger the anticipation of a memorable experience with the words that you use. You can go read about this sort of stuff. I put here, these different studies that you can go look at. And it's all about what makes these experiences and memorable experiences. But what really excited me is they've developed an MTE scale, right? And this MTE scale has 7 areas of emotional experience that if you trigger 1 or more, and I think they decided that the optimal was about 3 of these emotional responses, that you were liable to get them to have a memorable tourism experience, which means they're going to remember you, they're going to revisit, they're going to have real loyalty to you. And these are hedonism, having food, drink, the physical enjoyment, hedonistic experience, novelty, it's new, nothing that had been done before. Local culture, really experiencing local culture, refreshment, like, that meditating on a mountain moment, where you feel a sense of freedom and liberation, meaningfulness. You gain, it ended up being very meaningful to you. Maybe it was a long lost, maybe you go to a ritual of a local indigenous tribe, and it moved you. It had a real meaningful experience for you. Involvement, getting involved in local activities, involved in the local community. And then knowledge, learning something new, learning something you never anticipated that you would ever learn. These kind of emotional responses, these kind of experiences elicit that kind of memorable tourism experience. And, the words that people use to stimulate anticipation are very much in the same vein. They trigger that idea that they're going to have a hedonist experience. They're going to have a novelty experience. They're going to meet local culture. They're going to get, refreshment. So, understanding the words around that, which is, words is part of SEO. is important. So we developed an approach so far, and I anticipate eventually automating this with some technology, where we go in and we're combining both the SEO and the memorable tourism experience into an approach for a writer to create a really great article. And so in this one, you start out with the concept. There's fireflies in the Smoky Mountains every spring. And we wanted to get people to say, oh, let's come and see it, and more likely to read our article about it than others. And most others were cut and dried, or they would just use the keywords themselves, fireflies in the Smoky Mountains, and then that was it. So our blog post, we ended up developing this with this wonderful title, Infuse a Little Magic into Your Summer with Fireflies in the Smoky Mountains. And you can see that is just more evocative of emotion, while at the same time being SEO friendly. So, first we do the key SEO research, fireflies in the Smoky Mountains, with secondary ones. We then, decide if there's a hub page or not. In this case, there was no hub page, but you can create a hub page, or this itself is a sub-hub, but it was a sort of a standalone page. Then we look at what we were triggering. We were triggering on the MTE scale. We were triggering hedonism, novelty, and involvement. So they're thrilled about a new experience, indulged in some activities. They have a once-in-a-lifetime experience. There's not many places where you get synchronized fireflies en masse that you can go to. So it's probably the only time you're ever going to see something like that. And then you get to actually participate in an activity. It also could have been said local. You're going to meet local culture. You're going to be involved with local guides. And then you go through and you combine now not only the SEO words for you got to create content ideas to help write the article, and we do usually about 3. And so we look at what are the experience words that might work with this, and we looked at infuse, marvel, be amazed. We often look at the description of the emotional description of on the MTA scale, and then we look for synonyms. We might look for LDI. There's several different ways to look for words related to that concept. Then you got the SEO words we're going to use, and then create a word cloud of the things that you might use in the content, again from the same sources. Oops. And then from that you then create the title, the meta description, the H1 tag, and any other H2s that you might be using it. And then you use all that to write the article. And we're finding that we're getting a 20% increase in click-through rates on these articles. And we're seeing a bounce rate of less than 10, that reduced the bounce rate by about 10%. So that's a win for us. And we're using that now in a lot of different scenarios. It's great in travel. We're starting to think about how to use it in B2B and some other places. So thank you. It's been a great opportunity to speak to you now or in the future, mostly in the future. You can see here, you can reach me at joseph@galileotechmedia.com, and you can schedule a 30-minute or a 15-minute meeting with me on Zoom at calendly.com/Joseph McElroy. Thank you very much. This is Joseph McElroy, CEO of Galileo Tech Media. We can help you with your wise content and smart SEO for your destinations and multiple locations.